Let's take a look at my potted Eugenia and Myrciaria collection. These are mostly on the smaller side because they're either newer introductions or they are newer collections for myself. So starting here, this one's about 3 or 4 years old. This is Eugenia Cuprea. This one seems to grow like a weed. It's been pretty hardy too. I've put it in a little bit of direct sunlight and I think it's been okay. So no flowers yet, but yeah, about 3 years old, I think. And this one will likely find a spot in the ground. This is Eugenia, what is this? I always forget. This is Cathariensis, that's right. And I've been pretty happy. This is the normal color I see when it's in the greenhouse for the new growth. But now it's starting to turn a lot more pink. And this one took a little while to get going, but now that it's established, it's growing at a pretty quick rate. I just don't know how it'll handle full sun. This is lost all its leaves during the winter. It's got some new growth that doesn't look very hot right now. But yeah, maybe it'll recover. Let's hope so. It got to a decent size. I think I probably overwatered it. I have a few of these. This one did the same thing. And this one's still holding some leaves, so I don't know, this might be the one I have to be more careful with. This is Eugenia Soloi, the Pitangatuba. This is a seedling of my fruiting, in-ground fruiting Eugenia that I'll show later in the video. But it's actually larger than the one that's in ground, mostly because it's been kept shaded at a young age. They can handle full sun, but it definitely gets stunted growth. This little guy's on his way out. This is Eugenia Myrciaria. It was growing well, and then I don't know what happened. Maybe overwatering, not sure, but it looks like it's about dying, so hopefully it recovers. We'll see. There's a few leaves that look okay, like this one, but all the rest are starting to turn limp. All right, this is Eugenia lingustrina. This one took a long while to get going, but now it's really starting to take off. So we'll see what happens with that. This is Eugenia azeta. Yeah, that's right. So this one is also very slow growing, but I think it likes direct sun. The more direct sun I give it, the better it grows. And it's got this new growth coming on. So this is supposed to flower at an early age. In fact, there might be some little flower buds in here. Let's see if I could focus in on that. Those might be little flower buds coming. We'll see. This is Eugenia tenui penduculata. This is the Pareta or darker fruit. These grow pretty fast under the right conditions, but they definitely like to be shaded early on. And the leaves look a lot better when they're shaded. Okay, this is Eugenia minutifolia. Definitely staying minute. This thing is taking a long time to really start taking off and hasn't grown much but little leaves. And then one with even smaller leaves is this Eugenia delicata, or delicatula, I can't remember. This one's got some real bonsai potential with these small tiny leaves. Very cool, probably one of my favorite looking of the Eugenia. This is a new edition, got this from Anderson's Tropicals. This is Eugenia Patricii, the Tapajos selection. So this is supposed to make a little bit larger fruit. We'll see how it holds up here during the winter, but this one's only a couple weeks old in the property and I'm keeping it shaded in here. All right, moving on. This is Eugenia Ariana. Some really nice new growth here. We'll see how this goes, but this is still only a few months in my possession, so I'm not quite sure how it grows. But I've heard it does all right in Southern California climate. Here we have this big, long, lanky thing here. This is Eugenia macrobrachiolata, and it's pushed out a bunch of flowers. This is the Patanga juba. It's pushed out flowers. We'll see if they hold them. This one particular one, this flower right here, flowered about 2 weeks ago, and it's still holding on, so maybe it'll form a fruit. But yeah, kind of flowered everywhere, and it's long and lanky. Here in the back, this is Eugenia exceptional or excepcional. This one definitely does not like direct sun, at least immediately, and it gets cooked at high temperatures. Had some new growth that really got fried on it. Here, new growth that got really cooked when on a hot day. But that's supposed to produce a decent sized fruit. All right, and lastly in the back here, those larger ones. This is sold to me as Eugenia celoiana. I've talked about this one in another video. It flowered, did not produce a fruit. Pretty sure that this is Eugenia piriformis and not celoiana. But it looks a little different than my in-ground piriformis, so we'll see what it does. It's got another flower coming on right here. So we'll see. This tall guy here is about 4 feet tall, is a Eugenia brasiliensis from a yellow fruit. Has not fruited yet, so I'm not sure if it actually produces a yellow fruit, but we'll see. All right, moving along. This is Eugenia calcinea nellita. Really nice little growth, and it's pretty healthy in this pot. This is from a seed that I ate, or fruit that I ate, and it's doing pretty well here in this little pot. All right, some of these grafts down here, I showed these in another video. Some of them are failed grafts from Suriname cherry or Eugenia uniflora. You see some of these actually worked out. This one has some growth poking through. This was Eugenia uniflora vermilion. So this one actually, the graft took. Here's another vermilion that's starting to push through. This was a Zil Dark uniflora. And this one here, and this bigger uniflora that I had in a pot, these were both Black Star seedlings that I got from Kevin up in Santa Barbara. All right, moving along, I have a number of little cherimoya seedlings in here that I'll be using to graft onto a reticulata. This guy's worth noting. He showed up in a pot of some Plenia seed that I got from Bellamy, and I have no idea what it is, but I'm growing it out to find out. Maybe it's a weed, maybe it's something rare. We'll see. On to the Myrciarias. All right, this is Myrciaria glazoviana. This is the De Cruz version. Super healthy, grows really fast, but another lanky one, so I have to stake both of the branches that are growing out of it. This is Myrciaria guacuea, close relative, also produces yellow fruit and also grows very lanky, but it's pretty healthy, doing a lot. It's been growing very quickly, and both of these are only a couple years old, so they are growing fast. And right behind that is Myrciaria guacuea. I'm sorry, Myrciaria strigipes or strigipes. Love the new little red growth on this, but this grows like a big old like hair. Just grows up and then falls over. This is a new addition. This is a Myrciaria Rio Paraiba do Sol. This is supposed to be similar to like a strigipes, but the leaves are definitely different and the new growth is not red. It's supposed to produce a larger fruit that's kind of orange, so yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I'm keeping it well shaded right now since it's new. And this is Myrciaria floribunda, the Arborea selection. And it's also doing pretty well out here. This is supposed to grow into a big tree, and I've got just the spot in the orchard for it once it starts taking off. I'd love to see this one turn into a big tree. And here, this is about a year-old seedling of Pastora, Myrciaria Pastora. This one's also another vigorous grower. It's kind of all over the place, but I've been really happy with the growth on this guy. It seems pretty bulletproof. Made it through the winter just fine and seems to love the heat as well. This is a Plinia rivularis, but I swear this is a Myrciaria. The leaves look too similar to Myrciaria, and it even fruits similar to Myrciaria, and the bark is very similar as well. So I'm calling it now. This one's misclassified as a Plinia. These are Myrciaria caryolescens, the blue guacuea. I had a much larger plant of this that was in about a 3-gallon, and it just up and died on me. I think these things are really sensitive to being overwatered, so I'm going to try to cut back on the water on these and see if it helps them out, but they really love the summer heat. I've got a bunch of Cherry the Rio Grande seedlings here that I planted. Here are a lot of Eugenia multicostatas. This big one here is the yellow variety, but all of these other ones here are red. Now my intent was to plant these out and form a big tree hedge with them, but they're growing a lot slower than I was hoping. So I heard these are supposed to be big trees, but if they get big, it's going to take a while. But they're doing fine. They seem to like the heat, and I've had them in direct sun, even though right now all of this stuff is under 50% shade cloth. I've noticed that these plants like to be babied a bit when they're young, so keeping under shade cloth will help them get to size before introducing them to direct sun. So yeah, I'll probably have to sell some of these multicostatas at some point, so if you're interested, reach out. I've highlighted this big guy. This is a Myrciaria pilosa, the purple fruit variety, and it's also pretty healthy. It's spent its first winter outside, and it definitely doesn't look as great as it did inside of the greenhouse. The leaves are a little cooked, brown edges, but like I said, it's just pushing new growth, so it seems happy enough. And it's flowered but hasn't held fruit yet. And then I have a bunch of other little Plinia seedlings down here that I'm babying outside of the greenhouse now that it's too hot to go in. This is a Escarlate that's flowering and has a fruit on it. This is grown from a cutting that I got from Ryan down in Tennessee. So that's the outdoor collection, or at least the potted collection. I'll show you the in-ground ones. This is my Eugenia tenui penduculata. This is the orange variety. And you can see it doesn't look great coming out of the winter time. This is about 4 years old, but I need this to grow outside, and I just noticed that it's got its first flower here, flower bud, so that's new. But yeah, this is about 4 years old. I've got it in a 15-gallon, and see how it does outside. All right, I wanted to capture all of my Eugenias, some of the different species and selections that I've had. I collect a lot of these because they're all uniquely different. Make kind of small cherry or berry type fruit, and they're super cold hardy. So I'll start with this one. This is Eugenia siloi, Patanga. This one fruits pretty regularly every season for the past couple years, and it makes maybe about, I don't know, half a dozen fruit per year or less, but it only stays about 1.5 feet high, so it doesn't really want to take off and grow large here. This is a Eugenia uniflora that's in the ground, or Suriname cherry, or Pitanga. This is its first year fruiting, so it's got some fruit on here. Let me see if I can show this. There's one little fruit starting to form. There's a bunch of them around here. You kind of look in between. They're hard to see right now because they match the green color of the leaves, but this turns a nice pretty red during the winter time, and all the new growth is red, and does really well in Southern California, dry heat. Highly recommend this. This is Eugenia involucrata, or cherry of the Rio Grande, and this one also fruits pretty heavily. A lot of the flowers. This is a seedling that I got from Exotica down here, but it does pretty well. It's got a lot of fruit growing on it right now, and they form decent sized little cherries. Have a nice sweet flavor to them. I think this is a Eugenia calcinea, or Savannah cherry, and you can see it's got a lot of flowers. These will turn into fruits very shortly. Some might drop. This comes out looking nearly leafless out of the winter time. It always flowers in the spring and holds some fruit. This is its first year in the ground, so it's a little bit stressed out, but it should survive. This is Eugenia brasiliensis, or Gurmichana. This is the dark fruited variety. This is about 6 feet high and has not yet produced fruit, but very strong plant, makes it through the winter no problem, and it's out here in full sun and does just fine. It's Eugenia lushnathiana, or Pitomba. It's pretty happy here. I think this one likes a little bit of shade. It doesn't do as well in direct sun, especially at this height. That's only about 1.5 feet high. So this is probably about a 3 or 4 year old, maybe a 3-year-old plant right now. That's been babied in the greenhouse and is having its first summer planted outside. So I'll report back on its hardiness. This one in the shade, this is a Eugenia, we'll call it SP purple fruit. At least that's what it was sold to me as. It's flowering for the first time. You can see some of the flower buds here. And it forms this dense thicket of branches and tiny little leaves. But we'll see if the fruit's any good on this one. I may or may not keep it depending on the quality of the fruit. This is kind of a prime spot being in the shade here, so some of the more sensitive Eugenias could take its place. This is a orange fruited cherry of the Rio Grande, and this one is also very happy. It's got some nice red bark that's starting to peel off now. This is always fun, picking off the bark and checking out the fresh bark underneath. But you can see the leaves held up really well, and it gets a little bit of noonday shade. This is Eugenia raponda, and see some new growth coming on here. Forms this nice red growth. Let's see if I can get in the sun. There you go. So yeah, this looks pretty nice when all the new growth comes out, and then shortly after it'll start putting out some flowers. It's flowered but not fruited yet. Going up here, here's a Eugenia burkhartiana. First year in the ground, probably about 3 to 4 years old now. And it's got this beautiful red growth that comes out. This has been hanging well in direct sun, so I'm hoping that I can keep this one in the sun and it'll flower and fruit. Here is Eugenia and Myrciaria, and this has tiny little leaves pushing out a lot of new growth. This is not yet flowered, although I have high hopes for it this year. Many say this fruit, called ubajay, tastes like garlic. Maybe not the most desirable fruit, but I've also heard that there's some selections that taste half decent, so we'll see. Otherwise, it seems to hold up pretty well out here. This has been in the ground for a couple years now. And here's Eugenia squamiflora. This tree was probably about twice its height when it was in a pot. We had some issues planting it in the ground and it struggled for a little while, but now it's pushing a lot of new growth. So I think it's finally settling in. Even these branches here forming, the buds are starting to form on the tips. So this should look a lot better in a couple of weeks, I think, once the leaves start coming around. This is in direct sun. Here's Eugenia CDQ. I've given it a little bit of shade from this tree here, and it's got some new growth coming. It's been in the ground for a couple months now, and it seems to be pretty happy. It survived a few really hot, windy days. So I've got hopes that this one will do just fine out here in this climate. CDQ is supposed to make a nice little palm-sized yellow fruit, so we'll see if it's any good. And this is Eugenia candoliana, or rainforest plum. Again, it's back in the ground after struggling the first time being planted out in the ground. Had it recover in the greenhouse, then put it back in the ground. It gets afternoon shade, and now it's starting to push new growth. So I'm hoping this time it's happy, but again, this one has also survived for a couple months in a 100-degree heat day and without too much issue. And then lastly is this Eugenia piriformis, possibly a hybrid with lutescens, as this is the sweet uvai or uvaya fruit. Not sure how that's pronounced, but yeah, this one's starting to flower as well. We're starting to see a few little buds here and there on the new growth. So yeah, let's see some of the buds forming there. It's flowered once but didn't hold fruit, just a few flowers. And that's the collection, at least the collection outside.